As an aspiring photographer, I've recently become interested in traditional art. And along my foray into traditional art, I came across an artist called David Lake. Now, David's work has been hugely inspirational to me over the last year or so. And as he lives in northern Tasmania, I decided to reach out and see if he'd be open for an interview. And thankfully, he said yes.
My name is David Lake. I started painting in March 2004. My first exhibition was precisely a year later, March 2005. It became my sole source of income, so the paintings had to sell.
Throughout this interview with David, I got far more insight into his journey as an artist than what was available online.
Prior to that, for nearly all my life, I'd done sketching, pencil sketching, etc., etc. I spent a period with a New South Wales regional newspaper, which I'd initiated. Because I'd done a lot of photography in earlier years, I didn't want to use a camera, so I actually illustrated everything and learned to draw seriously. So it was a fairly natural progression to using a brush.
David spoke about how he wasn't so much interested in the technologies he uses, but rather how they can be applied to create art.
I have never been interested in the technology. Regardless of what I do, I've never been interested in the technology. I've been interested in the use of the technology. I use a little electronic camera, I've got a few of them. One of the main reasons, two reasons I use them is for capturing images of the work, but also capturing light to use in a painting. There's a mechanical aspect of getting the paint on the canvas, blocking it in or whatever. At some stage, the canvas actually manages what I do. I get out of the way. It tells me what to do. That's the creative side. And that's where I believe I have nothing to do with it. It just happens. I can never see the finished painting in my mind's eye until it actually gets there.
A huge aspect of David's work is his usage of light. And for me, that's what separates his work from others.
I'm inspired by some aspect of light, some reflection, and I see something and it's really interesting. And I might take a snap of that with a camera. Often I'll go back and go back and go back physically and just look at it, just observe it. The best photography is exactly like that. It's capturing a moment.
I was interested as to why David had chosen Longford for a studio over anywhere else.
We came down in 2003 and we drove pretty much around the island over, I think it was 2 weeks or thereabouts. The car was running out of petrol. We were coming up from Hobart and it was just getting into the Midlands and the car was running out of petrol, and we got further into the Highlands and the car was running out of petrol. And we went to a petrol stop which was closed, so we're still running out of petrol. And we came down the other side of the Highlands and the Highland Lakes and we got some petrol. And so we stopped in Longford and had lunch in this park just here. I immediately liked it because of the oak trees and the clock in the tower there has a bell that rings on the hour and half hour. Now I don't wear a watch, so I tell the time by that clock. I built the cottage myself over 18 months. That window up there was my first studio, the window you can see, but it just got too small. So I built this in 2016.
David's compositional style is very unique. So I asked him what drew him to his compositions.
They find me, there's no question about that. I don't go looking. All of a sudden I'll just see something. And again, Sheila's quite used to me stopping the car, getting out, having a look, either turning the car around or backing up, taking a few snaps, and then maybe doing sketches. There's a sketchbook in each of our cars. And then I often go back many times, quite often many times, sometimes through seasons, until I get what I want, because there's just one thing that I've seen. And I've even done paintings which are multi-seasonal, so that they're a complete fabrication. When you look at it, part of it is autumn, part of it's spring. So it doesn't matter, it's just what comes, and then that's part of that evolution process, which I could never anticipate. It just occurs and I follow it.
Once we had concluded the interview, David invited me out in his very custom painted Citroen to go and see his latest exhibition, Trees at the Gallery, Pajayan. The gallery was graciously opened by the gallery's owner on a Sunday, where they're not usually open. Once we got to the gallery, it was exciting being able to actually see all of the paintings that up until this point I'd only seen online. Being able to see the light reflecting off the fibres of the canvas was a completely different experience. Being able to get physically so close to the canvas, David was able to point out small little details, such as the fact that in every painting, there was one egg hidden somewhere. And not only that, I was able to get so close to the paintings that I was able to see small little details that you would usually overlook if you had seen them on the internet. While we were there, David spoke about his distaste towards artist statements. He said that the art should be able to speak for itself, and it shouldn't have to be contextualized by the artist. And I think that's a really cool idea.
When we get home, which is about 2 minutes away. Right.